Hi, good morning. I am Liz Libby. I'm half of the team at Rising Tide Women, and I am doing our second Monday Live. You might notice my voice is a little bit gravelly today. I usually have, I like my voice, but today it's a little gravelly, and I will explain why shortly. My voice is still recovering from the weekend. I must have had a good time. But in case you aren't familiar with us and what we do at Rising Tide Women, we offer prenatal education to prepare for your best birth possible. We offer birth doula services provided by my business partner, Lindsay, who is amazing. I have a girl crush on her. Love you, Lindsay. And we both do postpartum doula support, and then we do full service lactation support as well. And we offer a Tuesday breastfeeding group up here in Eastham. So if you're within range, that's a great place to come and say hi to us in person, or to me. Lindsay's not usually there on Tuesdays. So, pardon me. So we have had this whirlwind weekend, or I have. So it's been a really busy week for us this past week. And then this Saturday, we went to Cape Cod Moms Parent Resource Fair, and we were there all day, which was so fun. We got to meet so many fun parents, and we got some new people in our private Facebook group, which is our Rising Tide Women Sisterhood, which I think of as the kindest corner of the internet. So we got to meet a lot of people, and then I gave 2 talks. It was my first time really public speaking, and what a wonderful group of parents to give talks to. So I did, pardon me, my first talk at 10:30 in the morning, and I talked about building your village as a new parent, and then I talked about setting yourself up for a great breastfeeding experience. Which, if you know me, that's like a passion of mine, is like preparing for a good experience, helps you have a good experience. So, so that was really fun, but that's part of why my voice is shot. I spent yesterday kind of recovering with a mug of hot tea. And then, of course, I went to a big party that night, so lots of shouting over the music, and then like most of Pat's Nation, we all stayed up way too late last night. So, unfortunately. So I sound rough today, but it was a great weekend, and we got to meet. It was really cool this weekend. We have a lot of people that we talk to on the internet, and we actually got to go and meet some of them in person. So that was really fun. And Sarah, if you're watching, hi Sarah, it was so good to see you in person. So we had a lot of fun, but having some time to kind of recover yesterday, I took yesterday as like a day off and just rested all day, really made me think about self-care, because as I was sitting on the couch drinking my tea and just reading a book and not really paying too much attention to what my kids were doing, it really made me think about self-care, because I was having some feelings of guilt. I was really feeling guilty about just kind of checking out a little bit. And the reality is that my kids were fine. They're 5 and 10. Like they were playing Legos happily and having, bickering, but they were fine. They didn't need me. But I still felt that guilt. And I really at this point, I'm at a place where I can sort of feel it and honor it and say like, okay, feelings, I hear you, but not really necessary. So shut up. But I think back to myself when I was a new parent, I would have had those feelings of guilt and really taken them seriously and really felt like I needed to do something differently. And so I just want to talk about rest. As parents, we have this idea that we have to be constantly going and producing and doing, and our houses have to be clean and our kids have to be clean and happy. And the reality is that life is so much more messy and so much more interesting than that. And, I know it's always a balance, because for some of us, when our house is messy, it helps us feel, when our house is messy, we feel stressed out and we feel anxious. But sometimes it's okay to let that go for a little bit. So I just want to encourage all of you mamas and papas and babas or whatever you identify as. I want to really encourage you to rest and to support your partner in resting, because often we get this dynamic where you're like, oh, I'm working and you're resting, and I'm kind of feeling resentful about that. And so I think you have to really practice talking to each other in a way that's like, okay, I need your help right now, but in a little while, like, let's both sit down and rest together. If you have a partner, and if you don't have a partner, that is so much harder. But I especially want to encourage our single parents to rest, because you are going overtime, and if your kid is not being stimulated, and, if you're not being perfect, that's okay. Your kid doesn't need you to be perfect. But your kid does need you to be cared for. So I just want to really kind of think about self-care. And one of the things I've been learning a lot about lately is habits. And a big part of that is actually because of, I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite Facebook groups, which is Healthy Habits, Happy Moms. So if you haven't found it yet, it is really, it's not your usual Healthy Habits group. It's really wonderful. And so I love the Not Your Average groups. But they have told me a lot about how when you are doing something that's outside of your habits, it's draining. It takes energy. And I always think of it, because I'm a science geek, I think about it in terms of like chemical reactions. You need that activation energy to kind of get you over that hump and create that reaction to happen. But if it's a habit and it's something you're just building into your day and you do naturally, habits are really self-sustaining. And so part of my journey on taking care of myself is thinking about how can I create some habits that sustain me, that are my self-care. And they don't have to be big. I'm not getting weekly massages. I mean, I wish I could, but it's just not in the cards. And I think it's not in the cards for most of us because they're expensive and time consuming and we don't have childcare. So I think that we have to think about what are our habits. And even if it's just, for me, my morning ritual is that I take out my planner and I have this is my planner. And so I drink my hot coffee. This is after the kids go to school, by the way. I am not someone who can wake up at 5 to get time alone before my kids wake up. It's just not, I'm not able to. I wish I was, but I'm not. So, I sit down after the kids go off to school at 7. It's still super early. And I sit with my cup of coffee and plan my day. And part of that is thinking about like, what went really well yesterday? What did I learn? What can I do better for tomorrow or for today? And I also do a little bit of gratitude journaling and think about what am I really grateful for today? Pardon me. And sometimes it's really general, like it's cold and I'm really thankful to have a warm house. Sometimes it's specific, like my kid has a specialist appointment and I'm really thankful that we have access to medical care. And sometimes it's just like we have clean water that comes out of our faucets every time we turn them on. It's amazing. There are people that don't have that. So, and it's not involved. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. I'm not like spending an hour gratitude journaling. It's literally, hi, Lindsay. It's literally just like 5 minutes of like, what are 3 things I'm grateful for today? And it really helps me get my mindset in a good space to start the day. So this is one of my favorite self-care habits, is just that morning routine. And when I heard about morning routines, it's like a self-care buzzword. People talk about their morning routines, or their morning rituals. And I always imagined that you had to be like, at the same time every day. And it had to be, like you had to like burn sage or I don't know what beforehand. But the reality is like, I think for a long time I let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I felt like if I couldn't do it perfectly, I couldn't do it at all. And I just want to give all of you parents that may be watching this permission to be imperfect, to have a morning ritual that is different every day. And some days you miss it. Some days I miss my morning journaling, and that's fine. But I notice it when I miss those days. I'm like, oh, I'm just a little less focused. I don't really know what my plans are today because I haven't done my morning planning. But that's okay sometimes. You don't have to be on your A game every single day, parents. You don't. Just as a professional, I'm giving you permission to not be on your A game all the time. The most important thing you do is just love on your kids. So don't be perfect, just be loving, okay? But think about how you can create some of those self-care habits that are like, they just, after a while, and we have this, like, it takes 28 days to create a habit, or it takes so long to create a habit. And the reality is that, like, not all habits are equal. And so some habits take longer to create, and some don't stick because they don't quite fit with how your life lives. So, when you're thinking about creating a habit, give yourself lots of time and lots of grace, and just be ready to fall and get picked up again, just like the rest of your life. So, but think about how can you carve out even like a few minutes of time to really sustain yourself and nourish yourself. And whether that's just like drinking your coffee hot when you can, or whether it's getting enough sleep, which I know is like a pipe dream for a lot of us. But how can you, even if you can't get 9 hours of sleep, can you go to bed earlier and get an extra hour, or even an extra half hour? So even those small ways that you can take care of yourself are going to make a big difference in the way that you feel, the way that you feel about yourself, and the way that you're able to handle your days. So I guess that's my message, is that I fell down on self-care this weekend. And so I wanted to dive back into my morning journaling, my hot coffee, and my self-care. And I want to give you all permission to carve out the time to do that. So that is pretty much all I have to say today, is take care of yourselves. And I also want to think about how can we hang out with you in person? We have another event coming up. We have another baby expo. We're going to be at NICE, which is the Natural Infant and Child Expo. I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for. We always just talk about it as NICE. And that is a really fun event. It's in Plymouth at the 1620 Hotel, and it is March 3rd, right? I'm pretty sure it's March 3rd. It's a Saturday, and it's a really fun event. We'll be hanging out there all day. We are going to be, I think, neighbors with our friend Carrie from Irish Eyes Photography, and the three of us are like a party in a box. Like, it's a lot of fun. So you should come and hang out. And we'd love to see you in person. And of course, whenever Lindsay and I get together, like we did this weekend, we think about scheming of other ways to bring parents together and create community and take care of ourselves and each other. So we have some cool things that we've been scheming about, and we will keep you posted. Yes, thank you, Lindsay. March 3rd. It is March 3rd. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to give my poor voice a rest, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Happy Monday, and we'll see you out there on the interwebs. Bye.